to be a pastor themselves, or when they have to be married by a pastor, or they just hate church. They just hate church because of us sometimes. And thank you so much for giving us this moment and talking to us about this.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Now, if I'm going to take it back to you personally, when did you realize, were you young when you realized there's some issues surrounding pastors' kids?
No, you don't see that when you're younger. You actually, well, for me, I realized when I was a bit older, when you start participating at school and your parents are nowhere to be found.
Sure.
You do sports, they are not there. You do concerts, they are not there. You do fundraising, they are not there. Parents' meetings, they are not there. And then the older you get, that's when then you realize, you know what? That's off. Comment they're off about that, So it's not when it's happening. Like when it's happening for you, it's normal because that's what you know, right? Even when they tell your parents to come for a parents' meeting, sometimes you don't even bother because you know they are not available. And you just trying to shield yourself from that disappointment from telling your parents that I have a netball match today, would you come? Because you know they won't come. So you just don't mind it anymore. But until you are older, then you look back and you realize that, no, man, something was not right there.
Sure. And then the anger sets in. Okay, in your case, the hurt and the anger started setting in, I guess, when you were a little bit older. Let's take a break and then let's come back just after these to talk to you, Ndlovukazi Enhle, so we can proceed nicely.
Bušetša kgwebo ya gago maemong a yona ka go ikwalakatšwa go Radio Pulpit. Re na le mengwaga ya go feta 40 re le moyeng, ebile re na le batheeletši ba potego ba go feta 400. Re fetoga le mehla le mabaka. Re na le ditirelo tša go fapana-fapana tše di tla thušang go kwalakatšwa kgwebo ya gago. Go humana dintlha ka botlalo, letšetša Sunnet go 013341254 goba o romele email go sunnet@radiopulpit.co.za. O ka romela le lentšhule advertise ka SMS go 37871 37871. Ditifišo tša setlwaedi di a šomišwa.
By Finbond Groebeperk waarborg ons jou kapitaalbelegging, sowel as rentekoers van 11,25% teen ons eie kredietwaardigheid. Deur jou kuponkoers van 11,25% oor 5 jaar te kapitaliseer, kan jy 'n gemiddelde jaarlikse rentekoers van so hoog as 15% verdien. Finbond Groebeperk, lae risiko, hoë beloning. SMS RK na 30635. Besenfees geld.
You're listening to Radio Pulpit. The time is 2:30. Time for your news headlines. In these headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa has launched a new foundational political educational course for party members to strengthen their commitment and ethics.
A number of comrades dedicated themselves to revive political education. Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe is one that we need to applaud for all the efforts that he has continued to make in our movement to ensure that political education is put on a higher plane.
The South African Zionist Federation has condemned the South African government's recent genocide filing against Israel at the International Court of Justice.
They accuse Israel of genocide, and the accusation of genocide trivializes genuine cases of genocide throughout history. Israel's defensive operations in Gaza bear no resemblance to this definition. Israel, by contrast, is defending its 9 million citizens' fundamental right to exist.
And a full bulletin at 3 o'clock with Germany, Johan Els.
It's more than radio. It's a way of life. It is 657 AM.
It is 6:57 a.m. Radio Pulpit, your daily companion. I am not alone right here on Heart to Heart. I am still with Usis Nozipjo, Pastor Nozipjo Botsho, to be specific. And we are talking about journeys traveled by pastors' kids, PKs. So we are talking about that this afternoon. And for Pastor Nozipjo, she says, I started seeing this when I was a little bit now older, but when I was younger, I could push it out of my way, like it didn't disturb me much. But I realized then later that it was something that was not right. There are some things that didn't go right. So did you blame the church, my queen, for that experience that your parents were not there? Parents' meetings and games and all other things that other children would have their parents there present, but yours were not there. Did you blame it on the church, or were you angry with God at some point for that?
That also came a bit later, because when that blame now comes, you start blaming just your parents, that they are never there for you and all that. So the first direction where the anger goes is straight to the parents, because you don't know the amount of work that goes into ministry, right? The only time that you start now blaming the church, if I can put it that way, it's when you yourself are now involved in ministry and you realize how much that demands your time and how much the church relies on your parents. And that's when now you start shifting the blame a little bit to them. But the initial blame is not 90% of it, it's to the parents.
Sure, 90% of it is to the parents. Yeah. And then now later in life, then you realize all of this and then you are angry at the parents. And did you also, because you're working with the youth now, is it still something that you find our young people going through, the anger that you at some point, or the hurt that you at some point carried, they are the ones carrying it now?
Yeah, that's true. There are so many things that as young people, it's difficult to express to parents how they hurt us and how that affects our lives, right? And we go on about life filled with anger and not addressing the issues. And that also is partly because in our culture, the Black community, it's not a norm to sit down with your parents and actually express how you feel. It's not a norm for parents to actually realize where they've done wrong and apologize. So there are a lot of kids, a lot of young people that carry anger of things that happened when they are younger. But now the problem is there is no platform for them to actually voice out and actually express how they're actually feeling.
Sure, there's no platform for pastors' kids. Yeah. Because we expect you to be perfect, right? The church expects you to be perfect. You're a pastor's kid. So you can't be broken.
Yeah, you can't. Like, you are expected to absorb and take everything.
Yeah.
Including the abuse that comes from the church members themselves. You are supposed to take that in and not react as a normal human being.
That is like really sad to hear. And there's also one thing that I was saying, or two things that I mentioned earlier on as I was talking about you coming forth, that we also label you. You don't have a name. You're not Nozipjo. You are Pastor Mkhize's daughter. Yeah, the daughter, the firstborn. Pastor Mkhize, that one I'm talking about. So you never have a name. Which means that we expect you to even act and talk like your father and your mom.
Exactly. And which is not possible. I can't be my mom. I can't be my dad. I can only be me. And the minute I try and be something that I'm not, that's when I open myself up to doing or making a lot of mistakes.
So in the family of a pastor, you were born to both pastors. Mom and dad are pastors. You yourself are a pastor right now. So in a family of pastors, when you are born into that family, are you automatically also called? Because we are looking at your father's calling, and then we judge you based on who you're like, the calling that is upon your father, the anointing also that is upon your father. Are you automatically called because you're a pastor's kid?
I don't think that's true. Because we are individuals, and when God puts everyone on earth, He puts them with their own purpose. So my purpose cannot be the same purpose as my parents. There is something divine that God has put in me that I need to fulfill. So when you automatically now think that because your parents are in ministry, you too need to be in ministry, that is now deviating from the purpose or the reason why you are here on earth. It's important for you.
Now, Futi, my queen, I'm not even referring to the pastor's kid themselves.
Yeah.
I'm talking about us who are outside, because we expect you to be called. We look at you, the whole family is called. And you have to be perfect. You have to act and know the word perfectly, so no mistakes.
And it's not like we have different interests. That's another thing. You know, being a born-again Christian and being active in ministry are two different things. You can have a pastor's child that is a born-again, but they are just not interested in being active in ministry, which is fine. But sometimes, if not always, pastors' kids are also expected, like you're saying, to be called, to be active in ministry, you know, to be there in front and to do all those things, of which it's uncomfortable for other people.
Sure. So what are some of the most difficult challenges that our pastors' kids are going through that we are not aware of as the church?
Sure. Where do I start? One, time with parents. Pastors' kids don't spend time with their parents. If they do, those are the lucky ones. There's no such thing as spending time with your parents. Two, having to accommodate people in your space. Because you have people that need to be prayed for that come and stay with you at your home and sleep with you. You'll have demon-possessed people that come over to be prayed for. You need to share a bedroom with that person. Sharing space, where else there's already no space. I remember when we stayed in a 3-bedroom house, a very small house, might I add, and all the things that I'm talking about were happening there. People that had to be prayed for would sleep with me in my bedroom. Because my most of them would be female. If they're female, they have to sleep with me. My brother, if they are male, they'll have to go sleep with my brother. Or he will have to move out of his room and they had to occupy that room. So sharing your space, certainly sharing your parents. I don't think people realize how difficult that is, to accept that your parents have other kids besides you, that they have to care for other people just as they care for you.
Do you find that when a pastor's kid looks into the whole thing, it looks, or it feels like my parents are giving them more attention than they should be giving to me?
At some instances, yes, it happens like that.
Okay.
They tend to pay attention to the other kids more than you.
And even the church members more than you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because think about it. If you have your kids, say a cousin comes and visits, you tend to pay more attention to the cousin that's visiting, right? You tend to make sure that they are fine, they ate, they slept well, they're enjoying themselves, you know, because as much as they are not your kids, you love them so that you want them to feel the warmth and the love of the home. And you give them more attention than you would your own child, because you expect your own child to understand that this is my mom, this is my dad, they're not going anywhere. But this other child needs to feel the environment, that this is a good environment for me to be in.
But
so that's the same thing.
All right, let me greet Pastor Pepsi Lekhabotsodetsi. Thank you so much for joining it and be with us. Frank Jacobs, hello, hello, hello. But now, when you're looking at it from all angles, or should I say in hindsight, now
Mm.
you're here. Is it possible really for a pastor to balance this kind of a life where they can balance between loving their own children and the church? Is it possible
I,
to reach that equilibrium?
I think it's possible. I honestly think it's possible because if we look at it from God's perspective, it should be God, family, and then ministry.
Hmm.
It should be possible. However, if you are starting a ministry from scratch, think about it. If you're starting anything, if you're starting a new career, anything, you give it your all because you want to prove that you can do it, right? You want to make everything perfect. You forget about yourself and you concentrate on this thing. So I think it's a matter of pastors to allow the Holy Spirit to guide them in that aspect and to understand that family should come before ministry, not the other way around.
Lord help our pastors. I'm asking myself, shouldn't we as the body of Christ also understand?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I don't know because when you come into a church, and I mean, if you are getting married or someone in your family dies, or you are you need help, you need prayers. It's difficult for the congregation to also understand that the pastor couldn't come because his child was sick, so he couldn't come
Haibo,
and bury someone else.
Haibo,
Yes,
Haibo.
yes.
Sure.
The
But
child
the
was
pastor's kid is
rather
sick. But the pastor's kid is
yes,
sick. It's a fact.
Paula.
Haibo. Akoneki. So the pastor should be moved away. No, then that's where the problem is. And I think
Mm,
then it means that in our churches, in our Christian gatherings, not just
mm,
churches, conferences, and everywhere, these things need to be addressed. Because at
they
the
have
end of the
to.
day, then we have people who hate God. Because
Mm-hmm.
my father had to pay attention to mom so and so, babu so and so, and their kid
Yep,
who was in hospital, whilst I was in hospital myself.
yep, yep.
It reminds me of a doctor who operated on a kid very quickly, and then he had to run. And then the father of the child said, "But Kanjani, why are you running so quick? You haven't spoken to you." And then he says, "Because my son was hit by a car himself. He's in another hospital,
True.
so I have to rush." But now these parents couldn't understand because their pretty little one.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's where we have to bring Ubuntu back into church because
Yeah,
pastors are not God. And I think that's where we
they
make
not.
mistakes. All right.
And they can't do everything. They can't do everything.
They get exhausted themselves as well, and
Yeah,
they need their
yeah.
families as well. Margaret van Rensburg, hello to you, saying hi to us. And Dumiso Adon, hello, saying, yo, what a sensitive and touching topic. I am feeling very emotional right now. And may the Lord hug you, Dumiso, as a pastor's kid. Grabe Gazihlandla, hello to you, saying, touching topic. It is indeed. I have a question from a pastor's kid as well to
Mm.
you, Nozipjo, my queen. Asian, our time is running. So I'm trying to cover almost everything, but we won't be able to cover everything. We have to come back and take
Yeah.
it piece by piece. A pastor's child who's asking, "Hi, Sibongile, I want to ask Pastor Nozipjo when she does have small events where we all voice our frustrations and have fun together for pastors' kids who
Mm.
are younger like me." She's younger, she's in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, where can they voice out? Uh,
You-
did I read it
Yeah.
correctly, Bonolo? Let me say again. No, Pastor Nozipo, when she's does she have small events where we all voice out our frustrations and have fun together for pastors' kids who are younger like me. I think as young as she is, she also needs to have fun. She also needs
Mm.
to voice out what she goes
Yeah.
through as a pastor's kid as well. Where can pastors' kid do this?
Um,
And I
no,
think, I think Bonolo is putting you on the spot to say
yeah.
you gotta come out with something where we can come and
I've been talking to my mom in particular about it, that I would like to have something for pastors' kids, because as much as I'm able to talk about it and I'm not crying, trust me, there's someone that's listening to this, and if they had to talk about it, you wouldn't be able to hear a word they say, right? So we do need to have some sort of gathering where we have pastors' kids and probably professional psychologists as well, and have the parents there as well so they can just listen to the kids. Don't say anything, just listen and hear what is frustrating them. Because I remember when I voiced out my frustration, it was to my mom, and she couldn't believe everything that I was saying. She was just sitting there and listening. And I spoke, trust me, maybe for an hour straight. And I was crying. And I was just telling her how much I blame them for everything, for this and for that, and for this and for that, and how much I hate ministry, how much I'll never be part of ministry. So we need to have a setup like that where kids can just take it all out.
sure.
And trust me, once it's all out, you'll be able to talk like me.
Yeah. But what advice do you have for Bonolo who's in high school?
Um, for Bonolo, unfortunately, the only thing that I can tell her is just to trust in the Lord. That's all. And don't blame God for it. It's not God that is putting or inflicting pain on you. It's just how your parents are going about it. So you need to trust God that He will be able to open their eyes and see how you are feeling in this situation. And trust me, He will. Because I've seen it with my own parents. Trust me, He will.
Wow. Kitumetsina lady, shalom to you. Another family member says one of the other things that we are unable to talk to our parents about because they expect us to be perfect, not only our parents, but even the church, are relationships, especially when you grow up and go through your teenage years into adulthood.
Mm.
Yes. Ngilalele wena, Sis Nozipjo.
Yeah, that one, that's something else. It goes back to what you said, that as a pastor's child, you are expected to be perfect. So as a result, there are some things that you are expected not to experience, of which is not true. You will be at a stage where you want to be in a relationship. And the unfortunate thing is that sometimes it's difficult to even tell your parents. And if you do tell someone at church, it becomes a massive hoo-ha. And you find yourself now ashamed and embarrassed and everything that goes with that. So this is a difficult one. This is really a difficult one. If you can't confide in your parents, there needs to be one person that you can at least confide in.
I'm asking myself, Sis Nozipjo, that if you can't confide in your parents, then there has to be someone who you can confide in. I agree with that 100%. I also ask myself a question that doesn't it bring a drift between me and my parents? Because now I can't talk to them. Then I have to talk to
Mm.
Sis Nozip. And then I have to face them in the evening or
Yeah.
whenever.
And they just
Something
become
is
people you stay with at home.
something has got to give. For me, yes, Sis Nozipjo is there. I can bring out and all my, but at the end of the day, I want my parents, just like any other kid. I want to cry to my mom. I want to cry to my dad, just like any other kid.
Yeah, that's really a difficult and a sensitive one, because the only time you can have such is maybe if the person that you're confiding with or in
Is
is
able to
able to
talk to your
talk to
parents.
your parents.
Okay.
Yes, that way it can work. So they become some sort of mediator of some sort, and they're smart and spiritually intelligent. They then be able to actually not only be mediator, but now help you and your parents to actually bridge that gap where you are able to talk to each other.
Sure, my queen, we are going to curb it here today, but I think we have to come back, take it piece by piece, and grow from this.
Yeah.
Also, talk to the body of Christ itself, because we are playing a role as Christians, as the
Mm.
congregants. We are playing a role in all of this, hurting uh, the pastor's children, and at the end of the day, God might look for their blood in our hands because we are the ones who might have offended them to a point where they don't want anything to do with the Lord.
True.
And it's all, I see it in my church that after church, we all run after our pastor, all of us.
Yes.
And they have to stop us at the door. No, 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 today she can't see you. Today, but we all want to see her. We call her. And most pastors, because they also love their congregants, they're like, we love you, but Nabaka Itla. Like these presidents
Yeah.
that have
Yeah.
bodyguards, and the bodyguards are trying to push everyone away, but the presidents are like, come one, come all. And so something we need to continue talking about this and healing, because there are some pastors' kids who are abusing drugs today as a result of this. Queen,
Mm.
thank you so much for talking to us. For family members seeking to talk to you, how do they reach you?
They can WhatsApp me on 067 080 2764.
Okay, that was really fast.
Okay, 080 27. No, what's my number? 067
Yes.
067 080
27.
24.
Oh, not 2764.
No,
Not that one.
2464.
Okay.
What?
All right. I have a 067 2764
64.
number.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's my number. I don't call myself. Come on.
All right. We'll excuse you for that. I just have a minute, my queen. What do you say in closure to the
Uh,
pastor's children and their families?
don't blame your parents. Don't blame the church. Go to God and talk to Him. He created this entire thing. Go to the manufacturer and ask him, why is this happening? And he will enlighten you. And once he does that, you'll be able to face each and every situation. And most probably, you'll be able to talk to your parents as well.
Thank you so much, my queen. Next time when we come back, we'll make sure that we even pray for the families and those that are
Yes.
affected. May the Lord keep keeping you. We love you,
It's a
love you, love you,
pleasure. I
love
love you, love you,
you.
love you.
Bye, my queen.
Bye-bye.
And hello to Dr. Semi Mukwena and my queen, Malisedi Mukwena. Hello, 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 hello. Miss you, family. We have to have a reunion very soon. Family, I'm leaving you with the sounds of Kolimtongo Healing Power. May it minister to all pastors' kids and to all families, pastors' families as well. Love you. Have a great one. And we say hello to Germany, Johan Els, Busilier on the controls. Bye bye.